What do you think about the victim mindset?
Yeah, I've got no place for it. I think there's kind of two classes of people when it comes to that mindset. I always think there's people who want to see things built, and there's people that want to tear things down. And that's not to say we can't voice our opinions and be critical, but I love seeing things being built, and I don't have room for you. I don't have space for you. You can't steal my energy if all you want to talk about is what's not right and what's not working. I'll take criticism as well as anybody else, but then come with an idea. Come with a solution, and that's what I expect about people that I work with. Is you just can't you can't hurl bombs from the back row. I want everybody in the front row. You got to be part of the solution.
That's probably the most valuable thing I've ever learned in my life from people a lot smarter than me and who've experienced a lot more than me. And I was told one time by one of my mentors, if it's your fault, you can fix it.
That's right.
If it's not your fault, you can't.
That's right.
Changed my life, man. By the way, your mask is way cooler than mine.
Yeah.
I don't even know what this mask is called, but I got it from my wonderful wife
called the
who
surgical
works.
Mask.
Who works at Phoebe.
Yes, sir.
So there's so much we could talk about today. Obviously, with the pandemic and everything going on. And by the way, thank you for being such an advocate for this community at Phoebe Putney Memorial Hospital. You're the current CEO.
That's right.
And first of all, we really appreciate it. We saw you on CNN. You've done an incredible job at representing our community, and we really appreciate that so much. But I didn't want to spend our time today talking about COVID-19. I wanted to get to know you. I wanted to talk about Scott Steiner. And for the viewers, just for the record, this is not the Scott Steiner who was in WCW and
Big Papa Pump.
Big Papa Pump. This is not. However, this one's a lot cooler and a lot more interesting than that one. So anyways, let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about who you are and where you came from and what you do.
Yeah. So I've been here for about 18 months, and I call it it's definitely the professional highlight for me of my career. But I was born in St. Louis, born and raised really in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a diehard Cardinals fan. But I just enjoy baseball. But I lived and enjoyed life. Had a good family, and in St. Louis went to high school at Christian Brothers College High School, all boys high school.
And tell me, what kind of music did you listen to in high school and college?
Yeah, I was Van Halen, AC/DC.
Nice.
But I liked the Beastie Boys. I liked, so I was about the only thing I didn't like was country. And but I'm a huge country fan today. Probably in the last 4 or 5 years, I really, maybe it's this new kind of country that's kind of, it's a crossover.
You're right.
But, I had a Trans Am. I had a 79 Trans Am. I'm still looking to buy that car back. I'm dying to buy a 79 Trans Am, to relive those days.
Oh, man. Jean jacket?
I had a jean jacket. I can't say that was my look, but I had a jean jacket. And but
it's
I had
coming back.
T-tops and, Van Halen and Loverboy. And I listened to just about everything. And I loved it, hang out with my buddies and, do the things that you did. I played sports. I was a baseball player mainly, but anything with the ball, I was a jack of all trades, master of none, and enjoyed college. I don't know how I got a degree on the way out, but surprisingly there was something in the envelope. But I just had a blast hanging out with my friends, and we'd like to go hard, and we just like to have a good time. I think it was pretty typical. Met my wife in college. Actually, I met her in high school, but we just didn't really know each other. But met each other in college, got married, and we have 2 beautiful daughters, 24 and 22, both in Missouri, oddly. A little bit of home for them, but one's in third year medical school at KCU, and the other is actually now in St. Louis. She went to Missouri State as well, but she's in her student teaching years. She's going to be a school teacher.
That's great, man.
Yeah, and but we spent most of our lives there. About a little less, about 15 years ago, had the opportunity to go to extend my career at Tenet Healthcare. Actually, it was Vanguard Healthcare at that time. Tenet purchased Vanguard, but in Chicago, and it was a great opportunity. I'd always been in healthcare. My mom was a nurse, an ICU nurse still is. She's retired now, but I always think that kind of influenced me as I was thinking about careers. And I was a business major and didn't know what I wanted to do. And I knew I just didn't, I wasn't a salesman, per se. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That just didn't fit me. And, my dad was always in management. I don't know, that nurse and that manager kind of converged and went and after school got a master's degree and did an internship in East St. Louis, Illinois, and got a job after that internship. We were serving a very underserved community in East St. Louis, and it really just took off from there. Worked at a big system in St. Louis, and then had this opportunity in Chicago. I mean, reality, I've only been with 4 employers, and in sort of 30 years, this being my 4th, and so. I like to dig in. I take a lot of ownership where I go, and had that opportunity in Chicago. And then they asked me same company, Tenet, asked me to go run 4 hospitals for them in Detroit. Seemed like a great opportunity. And, I wasn't wild about the winners, 10 in Chicago and now 3 in Detroit. But, really, I always feel like it's God that led me there. I wasn't too sure about that. But had I not done that, I wouldn't have been considered for this opportunity here. Leading, Phoebe Putney Health System, 4 hospitals, a bit of a complex system here in Southwest Georgia. I didn't know I was going to come to Southwest Georgia until about 2 years ago from right now when I got the call, and I couldn't be any happier. So my wife and I, we love it. We love the weather. We love the people. That's what I'd say, is the people here in Southwest Georgia are nobody's perfect, right? Whether it was Detroit or Chicago or St. Louis, whatever your definition of perfect is. But here, what I'd say is people are concerned about you. They've got their head up. How are you doing? I think people are pretty genuine. In the North, everybody's kind of worried about their own day. They got their head down. It's not that they're not nice, not that they're not courteous. It's just they're worried about their own day. Where here I think people just are a little bit more community oriented, and we absolutely love it. We especially love it. The weather, the gnats, not big fans of the gnats, but December, January, February, having no snow, no ice, it's a beautiful thing.
Have you had a chance to enjoy the Gulf?
Golf or Gulf?
The Gulf. It's hard to read. It's hard to, these masks
right.
can kind of.
Yeah, I'm not a golfer, but
No.
the Gulf I have been fishing down. We've enjoyed it. We used to vacation quite a bit in the Destin area, Panama City. So I love the Gulf of Mexico, and I've had a chance to go down there to Alligator Point and Apalachicola and to do a little fishing.
Do some flats fishing down there?
Did some flats, caught some speckled trout, and it was good. I was supposed to go again in this past May, but COVID got in the way, so that's all right. The fish in the water still be there when that time's right.
So let's go back to Chicago. I have a question. Are you a Chicago or New York style pizza guy?
There's not many foods I don't like.
You sound
clearly,
like me now.
Clearly, I'll eat them all. I'm really actually a St. Louis pizza fan, which St. Louis doesn't really have pizza, but I enjoy the thin crust. I mean, like wafer thin crust pizza. But hey, I've eaten plenty in New York, plenty in Chicago. I've yet to meet a pizza I didn't like.
What inspired you to, or either motivated you to consider wanting to be a hospital CEO?
Yeah.
What in the world?
Well, I think it was, I can't say if I was ever inspired to be the CEO, right? It was, a lot of conversations around the dinner table. My mom was a little bit of a later in life nurse, probably in her mid to late 30s. She really went back to school and decided that's what she wanted to do. So we had a lot of dinner conversations around the table about her patients. And I remember just being struck by how she loved her patients. These were people she just met that day or for a couple days, and she was in the ICU most of her career. And man, she just loved them, and she'd talk about them like they were almost family. And I was a young teenager, and of course I wasn't that, I wasn't studying that, but it stuck with me. She'd have a lot of stories about young men who did dumb things that ended up in the ICU. So there's a lot of learning opportunities for me. But it was that care and that nurturing, and my dad also influenced me quite a bit. He's definitely one of my heroes. One of my he's always inspired me. He's the best man at my wedding, and
that's cool.
And so it was that combination of how I was raised, and it just it certainly was a good industry. It was to get into, and I remember the one instructor I had. His name was Greg Zeller, and he had a full-time job as a chief operating officer at a big hospital in St. Louis. Well, he taught at night at Webster University, where I was getting my MBA, and that's when you still went to school. When you went into classroom to get your MBA, there wasn't online, of course, wasn't optional then. And he would just come in. He wouldn't teach from the book. He just told us about his day. Here's what I did. And I found it to be the most fascinating thing ever. And I knew I always wanted to be a chief operating officer. And
like how he managed his day?
Yeah, it was just how he managed in the interaction and what he got to do.
Yeah.
He got to build projects. He got to deal with, complex physician relationships, recruiting, just that pure operations, getting someone or something from point A to point B, and I always thought it was just a cool thing. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I had, like everybody in your career, there's bumps, and there's times you go backwards, and, it's not, no plan survives contact with the enemy. And so that's how my career was. There was a time I didn't think I left healthcare, and I didn't think I would ever get back. And luckily I did, and became a chief operating officer, and then I had the opportunity to be a CEO. And I had to relearn quite a bit. As a chief operating officer, that's what you do, operations. It's, the lights go out, how do I get the power back on? The water goes out, how do I get, that's it. It's the nuts and bolts of running a business, running an organization. As a CEO, you're out doing podcasts, and you're talking about more vision and culture and things like that. So it's been an evolution for me, but one I've absolutely loved. Wouldn't do anything different.
How much more? Not to have negative connotation towards an operating officer, but how much more heart have you had to kind of implement into your role as a CEO versus an operator?
That's John. It's great. It's a ton. As an operator, I didn't have to pay attention to who liked me and who didn't. There were always going to be somebody that second guessed how we got there. Again, I always think if I did it legally, morally, and ethically, don't question how else we got there. But as CEO, you absolutely have to. And to me, this has been the evolution. I always think God doesn't give you what you can't handle, and for a CEO, you have to lead with your heart. Of course, the older you get, the more comfortable you're in your own skin, and the less you're concerned about what other people think and what other people post or whatever that may be. And to say, I'm going to lead in the way that fulfills my heart, and so I trust my gut and I lead with my heart. And so that's a perfect way to say, because that doesn't come naturally for people.
As a CEO of a hospital now, what have you been through, and what have you learned about leadership that has really just kind of humbled you as a person?
Yeah. Oh, wow. The one is what a privilege it is to participate in leading an organization. In this case, 4,500 people.
There's 4,500 employees.
4,500 employees throughout all Phoebe, and that's Worth, Sumter here in Albany, our physician group, and that there's a lot of responsibility and all that comes with it. But in the end, people want to know they work for an organization, that it's more than just a paycheck, that it's more than just a set of benefits. They want it. And I'm the same way. I used to think that, I learned a lot in Tenet and Vanguard, but I don't know how much they really cared about their people, cared about their leaders as they were running the business. And if they could get their asset to run the business better and more profitably, they were happy. For me, for our leaders, it to me, it's more about the people and about those relationships and about that connection. Phoebe does so many things that I've always wanted to do. In the spring we do a watermelon toss. At Thanksgiving we do a turkey toss. We do things for the holidays. We give out T-shirts. We give. It's a lot of those small things that to me they all add up. They're just another small note of how much we appreciate what people are doing, because we ask people to do some incredible things. And COVID has been one of those, another example of people just pouring out their hearts at work. Nurses, doctors, therapists, professionals, everyone, housekeepers. We were in this together as an organization, and I really feel that as a community. And you can't do this work unless you're doing it from your heart, unless you're doing it in with a lot of empathy, and that we always have to be thinking about standing in the shoes of our patients and our community. And so it's just special to be able to do it. It doesn't. Some days it feels like a job. Most days it doesn't feel like a job.
For those of you that don't know, that aren't from South Georgia, Albany was one of the first communities here to really take like a big hit.
Yeah, that's right.
And from my perspective and many others, we were excited to see how Phoebe handled this pandemic. I mean, I don't want to get into all of the details and stuff, but I mean, what was the attitude that you had to kind of bring into this? Here we are in Albany, Georgia. We get hit. We're one of the first. I guess we were one of the first hotbeds
in the United States.
Yeah, you're on CNN. Things are kind of happening. What did you have to bring to the table, attitude-wise, to really kind of get through this as a team?
Well, I think it's we didn't have a lot of time to prepare mentally. We saw this coming obviously out of China in late December and January, February. We began to order more supplies, but we were like most communities. We were thinking, in Southwest Georgia, this isn't right. This is going to go to the big cities. The closest this will be to us is Jacksonville or Atlanta. We'll watch them. We'll deal with whatever comes. I mean, we had, of course, no idea. And so what I think I'm most proud of is how our team came together, and it showed me that what we have is sort of built in, right? We didn't have to manufacture it in real time. Now we had to be smart. We spent a tremendous number of hours focused on how to keep our employees safe and getting PPE and all those things that people saw on CNN and other things. And I bet for every interview we did, we turned down 10. Because they were wanting to talk about what was Trump doing or what was Kemp doing, and I wasn't interested in that.
Really?
And I said, look, if it's not going to help us get more supplies, if it's not going to help us get more nurses that we needed, if it's not going to honor our, and celebrate our people, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting into the middle of Trump and Kemp and anyone else. And so
Unbelievable.
It was. We learned a lot, but we really led a lot, and most importantly, I think we were. I'm still sort of newish. The outpouring of support from our community, and it didn't matter if you were white or black or Catholic or Baptist or it did. People were coming by, dropping off food, dropping off meals. I remember somebody brought in 5 masks that they had found in their workshop, and they drove to the front door and said, "Can I give It was people sewing things, cards, prayers. I mean, you name it. The outpouring of support from our community. I'm telling you, it continues to show me how special this community truly is. And so, it's been. Hopefully we never have to. It's our 100-year pandemic, and we don't have to live through another. But we were prepared well as an organization, and we have responded as a community, and that's how I think of it. This hasn't been Phoebe Putney doing this. This has been Southwest Georgia doing this.
Mm-hmm. And from a business standpoint, I've learned, the marketplace doesn't care how you feel.
That's right.
The marketplace doesn't care if, your daughter's sick, if somebody's sick. The marketplace just wants value. That's all it wants. That's what it thrives in. And I've even heard someone say when things like this happen, some people look at it as a devastation, but I've heard leaders say, "Hey, this is the real economy. The real economy is vulnerable.
That's right.
Businesses are vulnerable. You think you're safe. You're on this plateau. You might be kind of content where you are, like as a business owner, as a leader in an organization, and then all of a sudden, boom, it can change overnight.
Right.
What can we learn from that?
Well, I was watching a documentary over the weekend about Mike Tyson, and wasn't it Tyson that said everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the mouth?
Boom.
And I think our healthcare system is that way. Our economy is that way. Our school system, right? We're learning now is, we're good when things are between the rails, and when they're not between the rails, right? We wobble. And we're wobbling today, but there is going to be, this new normal, the old normal. We definitely have a new normal, and I think it's a new exciting normal. Mm-hmm. Are there going to be some pain points? Absolutely. Do I want to throw away the mask and get back to, doing all the things that we? Absolutely. I'm with you. But the virus isn't done yet.
Right.
It's nothing to panic about. We just don't know. We don't know what we don't know, and we won't know for 6 months and a year, and we'll be studying this for decades. They'll study the pandemic of 2020 and the coronavirus, and to learn from it. And we're just in that infancy stage. So I'd love to tell you we have all the answers. We don't. When it hit, it was how do you take care of patients who, coded in the ambulance and now need to be put on a ventilator? I mean, it was, and it wasn't just one of them, right? It was 24 in a day, in a 24-hour period. It was things you just couldn't envision. And so look at what we know. We'll be a much stronger healthcare system in the future. Phoebe Putney will be better for it. And I think our economy and our community will be as well. We've got quite a bit of revolution happening today in society in a number of different avenues. And COVID-19 is just one of those. And it's kind of one of those, we've got what's happening socially, and we've got what's going on with COVID-19, and then a new hurricane develops in the Atlantic. Mm-hmm. And, we're being tested.
Anybody who's in any type of business or in any type of thing that's valuable to human beings, they have to solve problems. Mm-hmm. You got to solve problems. You got to be willing to, like you said earlier, be on the front line and take responsibility for things. But what can we do individually moving forward as these things continue to happen to grow and to just become a better version of ourselves each day?
I think we have to, look, if I had all the answers, right, we'd start a big consulting company or something. But I'm struck by this tenor that we have, which is my side is the best side. And if you're not on my side of whatever it is, then I'm going to shame you. I'm going to shout you down. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And so to me, what can we do? I think we can all show more tolerance for each other. And so whether that's whatever side of the masking debate you're on, we can show tolerance for it, right? We don't have to beat somebody up. We don't have to belittle them. We don't have to shoot them. And I think so. Whether that's it's about masks or whether it's about inequalities going on, but what's made us, I think, strong over the years as Americans is we've been willing to sit down and listen, and understand that sometimes we're not going to agree. But that doesn't mean you're awful. It doesn't mean I have to harm you. It doesn't mean I have to shame you. I tell you, I'm not that much into social media. I think I have a LinkedIn account, and I had a Facebook account this summer. I set up. I have always been opposed. I thought, well, I'm going to do one just for business, right? Now I'm going to post pictures of my kids, and I was on it for 2 weeks and had, I just had enough. I mean, honestly, it sapped so much of my energy, and I never got done looking at it thinking I wasn't anything but discouraged, and I just shut it all down, and because I just thought this is doing nothing for me, and I don't know, I'm not trying to put my head in the sand, but it probably disappointed me, and it showed me the work that we truly have to do as a community, as human beings, of how we just treat each other as all of God's children, as just human beings.
What is your idea of, as a CEO of Phoebe, a successful next 10 years of your life with this organization?
Well, these days we're kind of taking it day by day, but my job and others is to have that vision, right, of where we're going. And we're at such an inflection point today. I'd love to tell you what I thought 6 months ago is definitely not what I think today. That doesn't mean that we don't need, new buildings or new emergency rooms and that those expectations. What I believe where we're headed is Phoebe has that opportunity to be more impactful and influential in how medicine and other things are delivered for this part of the world or even in the state. We have a responsibility to help lead that discussion, at least participate, but perhaps lead that discussion for the future of medicine and of good health. The one thing this virus has taught us, and you're talking to somebody that I've got an extra 50 pounds and I got to get rid of that for a variety of reasons. But what this virus has taught us is it goes after the physically vulnerable. And that is, we know 76% of everybody that we've admitted are hypertensive. That's not by accident. Almost 80% are obese, not by accident. There are other factors, lung disease, smoking. This virus is like most viruses, heart disease, cancer. How many times do we have to hear another study that says, if you're a smoker, your chances are, if you are obese, your chances are that much greater of whatever we're talking about. And so if we don't treat our bodies as sort of, we have to make our bodies more resilient. And that's for, 650,000 people die every year of heart disease. We just kind of accept it, right? Well, it just happens. We live with it. We have to develop more resiliency in our communities. We have to eliminate those disparities in how we how care is accessed. We have a lot of work to do outside of who's walking into our emergency room and the kind of care that we have to offer. It has changed, and I think for the better, of how we will go out and engage and interact with our communities when we think about resiliency and health care. It's going to be hard work, but we are up for the challenge. So I think in 5 years and 10 years, are we going to have some buildings? Are we going to do some different things? Absolutely. But you're going to hear us talking about resiliency more than we ever have before. The perspective that I think I have and other people that when you enter a new community, whether it was me coming from St. Louis to Chicago or to Detroit or here, and is that perspective of how good it is. Not that it's perfect, but I hear so many people talking about, I was reading somebody say if they had a brother in Albany and a brother in jail, they'd help the brother get out of Albany first. And, I get it, but I really don't. It's somebody just lacks perspective. And we need people, and what I'm always looking for Phoebe Putney, or just who I surround myself with, are people that want to be part of something that's being built, something that's being developed, rather than somebody that wants to just tear it down. And so I think that's the piece I tell people from an outsider's view is it's not perfect here, but it's not perfect anywhere. Atlanta's not perfect. Wherever you believe, San Francisco, New York, or wherever that is, it's not there. So we're here. So I'm going to work like heck, and the people of Phoebe Putney are going to work like hell to make sure this community is the best community in Georgia, and not just in healthcare. I'm talking about the whole community. We want to be part of that narrative, a part of that conversation.